Welcome to a new episode of Cyber Prophets, a podcast made for you and for you only to prepare yourself better for the future of IT. We are now going to talk about a very interesting topic, the future of architecture, software development architecture. And for that, we have with us a very special guest with a long experience in the software development world. But before we go to that, allow me to introduce my co-host for today, Federico.
Thank you very much, Edgar. And hopefully we're going to have a very nice podcast listening about this new experience in the software architecture world.
Exactly. This is a very interesting topic for all software developers out there. We're gonna hear from our guest of today, who has actually 10 years of experience in the software development world, working mostly for German companies, but also for Polish companies as well. One very interesting topic is that he actually graduated as an electrical engineer, and we would like to hear about that transition, how it came to an end. And now he is also working as a software engineer, and he is the CEO of Softreck. Allow me to introduce you to Tom Sappletta. Tom, welcome
Thank you.
to our podcast.
Thank you, Federico and Edgar. It's nice to me to talk with you and to share my experience. Let me start with the explanation of my career.
Yes, please.
So it's something what was started in 2008. I started change my career. In the past, my experience was connected to some electrical things. I was electrician, and then it was a bit different. Just the things which are in area thinking, logic thinking. There are, of course, two in this electrician part. There is schema. You must understand. You must plan. Of course, you have not too much to think to change. Just since my childhood, I was too as hobbyist involved with the software development. My first application was in Basic wrote, and so I can say that it was something really new. It was something what I like, and till today I like writing programs. So I can say that if you have some dreams and
Yes.
you want to make it, it's nothing can stop you. Even you have a certification for another job and good salary, I think it can be no barrier to change it, because
Yes.
at this moment I was 20 years old. Now I have I am 40 years old, and I think I have make much more than today. So I started my company 2 years ago, and slowly I am building some open source projects, and that's why we are talking today about nanoservices, because it's something what can give many benefits for everyone which is in this area of software development, because of course it's good for people which are using uh, REST services, microservices.
Do I understand? Do I understand correctly, Tom, that your change from electrical engineering to software engineering was because it was one of your dreams? Was it
Yes,
like that?
yes, because if I am doing software development, I am 100% in these things. I can say there is some limits. Everything is interesting for me, and
Mm-hmm.
in electrician, you must thinking about security. You must care about team, about yourself. Every day can be accident. So, from this perception, it's very difficult to know if you can be able to make your specialization if you are working outside whole year, whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
And in your case, Tom, let's say, what was your motivation to do this transition? Because it was part of your dreams, but maybe someone inspired you when you were a child. Or how did you, let's say, discover it? Because it's something that I'm quite curious about it.
Yes. Can you say the same question, ask the same question in another words? Because
Yes. Yeah, like for example, Tom, in my case, my mom's boss was my inspiration to become a software developer. He told me that it was a good idea because he had a relative living in Luxembourg, and that's how I got involved in the software development. But in your case, how did you discover BASIC, and how did you decided to jump into this ship of becoming a software developer?
yes, the first question is why I was working as an electrician, why I was doing this before, and it's a bit easy. Maybe it's easy answer because there was not software development school. It was
Okay.
something what was easy to say. Of course, I dream about something just as a person which must earn money. I can do what are doing people in my area. They are electrician. Okay, I can do the same. And my two brothers are to electrician. We was talking. We was going to the same school, and now another. They are now not in this job. They are not working as electrician, just as a software developer, or another brother is doing to some business.
Even them.
And I am coming from Poland. I was living in village, so there are some areas which you can't change, and that's why I am in Germany now, because I feel there are many restrictions, limitations from your environment, and that's why I like to be DevOps, because DevOps is involved to environment. And we feel this environment. We know where are the limitations. We can change it. We are not just software developer, yes, because now I am doing DevOps. So that's why I like it, why I want to increase my experience, knowledge, because first of all, I like to make some things. I want to have experience. It's not enough for me to learn some things. That's why I don't care about schools. I am engineer, yes. Just it's nothing what I can have for long term. I must increase my knowledge. I can't just stop on engineer level, because every day as DevOps we learn some things, and it's not possible to learn everything at school, and that's why. And the same with businesses too. Not possible to plan. If you start, you can't know what will be.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. And we totally understand with Federico this that you're mentioning about the environments, that the environment sets some limitations to your, let's say, to your development. And yeah, that's why we both also decided to migrate to Europe. And now, Tom, coming to the topic of the day, could you please explain us what is a nano service?
It's good to explain first what is monolith, because Nanoservice is something what is coming from microservices, and this is some way which as developer we are we know, yes, we have this experience that in the past we created an applications in one programming language. We decided to make some things. It was the limitation from environment was very it was very difficult to make some things without respect current environment, and that's why Monolith, as a software developer, I can say it's something what is first thing what we are doing when we are starting some things from the scratch, and then we start to thinking in microservices architecture, and we can separate these things to nanoservices. So if this is my very, very practical thinking about nanoservices, that there are a lot of definition to say what something is. Just what I feel, I like to modular, make to something small and smaller than it is, and it should be small to have a better to have a better quality of some part of the whole system, because if we are creating big monolith system, it's there are benefits and disadvantages. There are many things which we must care in one moment, and if we if we are doing modularity, we can have a lot of benefits to control one part of system to make it better in one moment, and we don't need to think about another things, especially if we have a good environment, prepared environment. So what is Nanoservice for us today? It's something what can on the architectural level can create fast. It is function as a service, and on development layer, it's some things what can give you one function for one request for one API contract. And this is the difference between nanoservices and microservices, that we can, in microservices, create a whole request for many sources. We can make CRUD for users and another things, roles. But if we are talking about nanoservice, we create just one request and one type of request. For example, we will do delete user. So we create function delete user, and for this function, we expect just create one delete request with a delete function, and we expect in database delete this user, nothing more. And that's why it's some things what we can't now say it's good for many things, because it's very separated, and it depends architecture, because it's not easy to split everything. The same story is with monolith and the microservices architecture. We can't change everything, move everything to another architecture. It's not so easy, and there is a question which cost we expect, what we can do, and in which time, and what if something's change, what if our business model will be not so
Important.
yeah. Thank you.
And in your opinion, let's say, what are the advantages or disadvantages of this new model versus microservices that is the most used in our times, Tom?
Microservices are generally some improvement on monolith, and nanoservices are focused on small things. So the different and advantages which are common with nanoservices are in some area the same, but if we are talking about nanoservices, then I can say that for me personally, function as a service is something what I expect, because it's something what is coming with the idea of modularity, for what I'm waiting to in software development, that I can build some things and change it, make a different model, different application with the same bricks, like Lego bricks, that it's easy to change it, not that I must rebuild, and it's so painful if we must rebuild not just business logic, but each part of our application, the unit test, the integration test, a lot of things is between. So that's why I think Nanoservice is a good way for us, and that's why I think we should learn about, because for today I can't say that I am an expert in nanoservices. I'm passionate such a software developer, and I want to improve my knowledge in this area. That's why I will talk about it, because I am sure that after our conversation, I will buy some book. I will check some things, because it opened conversation, and I have in my mind a lot of things which I can't discuss, because day by day we are doing our job, and for today we are not talking too much about. That's why I like your podcast, because you are talking about future. This is what I like.
Yes. So did I hear correctly that you mentioned the concept function as a service? Did I hear right?
Yes.
Yes. Can you elaborate more on this topic? What is that?
This is something what is coming from architectural models, and what we know today. There are a few models, and there are infrastructure as a service, and we can go to direction platform as a service, and we can go to function as a service. So if we have platform as a service, there are a lot of solutions, and for function as a service, there are solutions. For example, Amazon have some things. It's a Lambda solution, and I don't know this solution. Just I heard about it, and I know that BBC is using Nanoservices, and I was not able to find the code, because they have about 1,000 open source projects. So I need a bit of time.
Yeah, and Tom, let's suppose that you need to split the work in let's say, a couple of developers. How would you do it with the nanoservices? Because I feel it like if you have a lot of services, it will be a little bit tricky, especially because in the beginning it could sound easy to build them because you're focusing on one action, but on the long term, imagine that you have 2,000 or 3,000 of them. How do you manage that situation?
I think I will be not alone, because today we are going from horizontal to vertical architecture. So if we are talking about nanoservices, we can create some one request with one method or one function. And what I see, there is many situations that we need some things just for make some input-output logic. And in my situation, what I am doing now, I'm thinking about not just about nanoservices, just about modularity. And the modularity, it's something what I want present in the future, such solution for many things, not just in software development, because we know what is we know what someone mean when he talk about modularity, and it's nice idea just how to do it. And Nanoservice is some implementation of unit which can be helpful to make modular application. And what I want to do, I want have a lot of things like BBC has many hundreds of code which I can reuse, because if we have modules which are ready to reuse, then we can make something very fast, very efficient, because it's tested code. It's something what you can build now in clouds. That's why the clouds are so popular, because we can save money. Just we save it on the start, because we can start very quickly some business. But what next? If we are depends from one vendor, it's of course not secure for our business. And that's why I am going to open source, because I know that this is the value which is important for many small companies which are doing own business, and it's very difficult, and it's not that they can choose one direction. They must be flexible, and the flexibility is in nanoservices, because you can use some things what you build it, and it's there is API specification, and you can share it, and many people can share your own nanoservices. So if in this horizontal conception, this is very easy to create some things from the scratch, from ready bricks, and that's why I think this is the future.
Yes, and okay, I am a bit concerned about the efficiency, just as Federico mentioned. But before getting to that, I would like to ask you, Tom. So in my company, for instance, we use microservices, and a really powerful tool for microservices is Docker, because like you can create several containers and deploy like your individual systems. What technologies are we using in nanoservices? Is there something similar to Docker?
This is good to talk about this topic in the future, because now it's something new, and what I am using, I am just using the same things what I am using for microservices, because if this is the same, so what is microservices? The big difference is between microservices and monolith, but between microservices and nanoservices, this is not so architectural difference. It's more the pattern difference.
So talking
single
about
responsibility, just what I can say.
Talking about the example you mentioned about the delete user. So if I can imagine, let's say we have the function delete user, and I want it to be a nano service. So I will have a container which will answer only to the request made to this delete user API. Is that right?
Yes.
But in that case, like And I'm coming back to the question that Federico did about the efficiency. In that case, where do you draw the line to say like, okay, this is enough? Because if you start with the modularity and with the level of granularity of the APIs, and you say that you divide that every single API will represent one nanoservice, then let's say like for all the operations, create, remove, update, and delete, you will have one nanoservice. And let's say you have 20 tables in the database. That means that 20 times 4, you will have like 80 nanoservices in your network. That will be very difficult to
Yes.
update and to maintain. Where do you draw the line and to say like, okay, this is better in microservices or this is better in nanoservices? Or how do you do it in your experience, Tom?
Thank you for this question. This is the border, what you said, because we see that it will be not good solution.
Yes, it would be not efficient.
It's not about everything, because there are things which must be they are not defined as one part. There are connection between, and of course it's better to change it, because if we are talking about limitation in area crude, create, read, update, delete, there is no sense to atomize, to make every thing, every request and every code separated, if we can not do it and we can make it as microservices. Just if we make some solution which is separated, which is not depends another, then this is the part which we can build as nanoservices, because the dependencies, there are indicators, and if we have the dependencies, we know that from developer side, the developer can decide and say, okay, we have too much dependencies, so we decide to do it as a microservice, and it's okay. And I am not so expert to decide what we should build in which way. I think it's good to build some indicators to have this information to make the specification ready before we start. And I think it will be easy, because what we can do today, it's change something what is created. What we can say, okay, it's just some monitoring function to say me some things. It's get request, which is easy to build, and we don't need to have it in our microservice because it's independent. Okay, then we can decide to separate it for today. But what if in the future will be more decentralized architecture? What if will be many IoT solution which we can use in this direction? Because IoT, it can be even button. So button is it can be easy to implement as a function as a service and as a nano service, I think.
And for example, in your case, let's suppose that you have a client and your client wants to move from microservices to nanoservices. What will be the process, in your opinion, to do this proper transition?
Can you say something more? Because
let's
I like to have more.
Let's suppose the Bank Millennium is doing the transition from, let's say that they have a system for the credit cards for transferring money between the same bank account. This service is built in several microservices, and right now they feel that is very inefficient, and they heard that you could help them to do a transition to Nanoservices. They want to optimize this process of the transferring money in the same bank, not to other country, all in the same bank. What will be the process for the developers, or let's say of the architect, to start the transition from the microservices right now for transferring money in the bank accounts to Nanoservices? What will be the transition?
Yeah, thank you. It's probably necessary to create some schema where we can decide about environment, what we can, where we can create the border between another parts of system, because if it must be one functionality, it must be in some case, it must be valid just for some environment, some contextual situation. It's very strict. I think it must be there must be some documentation to say it is just for this usage, or if we have something like this in our system, what if it's changed? What if we will need the same solution for another partner, for another bank? Then should we build new, or should we share in another level some rights, some authorization? Because if we are thinking about a nanoservice in the same way such microservice, in microservice we can have more information, more we can create the context. So the most contextual is GraphQL, where you can build some microservice with many options, and you can get a lot of data. It will be rich request. But in Nanoservice, probably we expect a very poor service to check some things, to sense some things, what is easy, and it's very independent. And I am not sure, because when we talking today, I am not sure what it will be, how it will be in the future, because now my knowledge about it is such a enthusiast. I learn about it, and I want to improve it, and it's good question. I must check it, because it is very important to know where is the border. I think it's
Yes.
a bit different question for the borders.
Yes, I totally agree that you should have some way of identifying where to draw the line, where are the borders. And as Federico mentioned, now there might be some transition from the microservices to nanoservices architecture. Some more companies might want to start using it. So
I understand, yeah, because I feel that you have the question probably if we exchange all microservice to nanoservice. I think it's not the way what we expect. The same question, what if we change our monolith exchange to the microservices? What if, yes? And we know that it not works. So there is some things what must still be as a monolith. So I think this is the first border. And second border is if there are some dependencies. So if we have very horizontal solution, there are dependencies on architect part and the DevOps part. So I think it's not so easy, and it will be some indicator to developer to make this as nanoservice or stay on microservice layer.
Yes, I think these two recommendations you have given us are very useful, and this can be some sort of guidelines actually that we can start thinking of them. And now, Tom, I will still like to talk about this efficiency and where to draw the line, but I will now focus it a bit more on the software development life cycle. I am really glad that you mentioned DevOps before, because that gives me the idea that you already know that DevOps deals with everything that is related to the pipeline, right? So I would like to ask you, how do nanoservices affect our pipeline, given that we will have probably more things to develop, better say more things to maintain and more things to send to production, and there might be other teams involved that are actually deploying to production, so this might cause some overhead, which might lead to higher costs in the companies. So do you see my point? Like there's like
Yeah.
a cost benefit ratio. So how is this pipeline managed in nanoservices?
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting. Yeah, I have never thinking about the DevOps part. Sorry, it's a microphone. I was thinking about more about functionality, but yes, it will be it will
Yes,
be
right.
difficult to manage thousands of nanoservices, and this is a good point for the companies which are providing solution for DevOps to serve some special solution, because it will be advantage for market to go in this direction, and I must research some solution in this area because it's interesting, and personally I want go in DevOps area with GitLab, and I'm using it at work, and I think there is a lot of possibility to make it. And my limitations are on hardware too, because I am going to IoT direction. And you see, you are talking about some platforms, some DevOps solution, and I'm thinking too about some hardware solutions.
Yes.
And what if will be some problem on another sides, and we will be happy, yes, but some another solutions will be not enough, and yes, this is interesting. For today, I don't know what will be if it will be in thousands, but what if it will be in millions, because it can be.
And in your opinion, how when the company should choose to use nanoservices instead of microservices? Like, in which cases do you think is a better idea?
I think the company which are doing many prototyping, because this is what I am doing in Softreck. I am doing a lot of prototyping. I am doing hundreds of projects, and there are open source, and it's the direction is IoT, because what I like, it's small hardware which can do some things, and based on Linux, but I am not sure what if we will go in some direction such the Raspberry Pi have now, that we have Python hardware which supports only Python applications, and it can be the same for another languages, maybe new languages, and then this is, I think, a good direction for function as a service solution and nanoservices, because if we are creating something which is based just on one part of code, and it can be one function, one public function, and just imagine you are creating many privates, one class, many privates method, and just one public, which is direct open it for requests, and we can just use it. It can be so simple in the future.
Yes. Yeah, well, I think that that's one of the major benefits of the nanoservice architecture, actually, because like it simplifies everything to a very significant and let's say unit of logic, which in this case will be an API, apparently. And now, Tom, it's time to predict the future because that's why we are here for. That's why we are cyber prophets. So we would like to know, well, first of all, this concept of function as a service is actually very new, I have to say. It's like it's still like a baby. So do you think that this concept of function as a service or nanoservices per se will replace microservices in the future?
Such everything, it can't be so easy. What we know today, that it will be not so, but what we don't know about architecture, because now we have serverless solutions.
Yes.
And there is no and it can be some things, some layer, some abstraction where you don't need to thinking about many things, and everything can be on monolith or microservices on nanoservices, and you don't need to thinking about it. So I think this is the point of view if you are a software developer, that you want to have a less job, less problems, and you want go away with this all complicated things which are depends, and then it can be probably not so important for us to decide what is monolith, what is microservice, what is nanoservice. I think this is the future. We will be on the layer one layer up, and then we will forget about.
Nice.
And where do you see the progress of the nanoservices in the next 5 years? How do you see them?
It's very slowly, because I was learning about platform as a service and function as a service in 2013. Was some person reading about writing about the concept, and I see that market, it's not depends the best solution or the most efficient, just about something that is very open, very easy to implement. And if nanoservice is very easy to implement, it can be big benefit, because in horizontal solution you don't need to thinking about the advantages or disadvantages so much, because you want some functionality. And where is the problem if you want to build something new? You want to decide, and you need to use some things, and you don't know where are the limitations, and if there will be, then you know that you must change it, and then it's slowly process. But I think just thinking about nanoservices is not enough. We must thinking about what if we will implement the nanoservices with some solution which will help us to implement it, and what we know today about software development, that there are artificial intelligence which can write some code. Okay, but the code must be efficient, and there are many factors and depends project. So it's not enough to have some solution. And if we will use some things, if we can use some things, we need to make some documentation, and maybe the artificial intelligence will more helpful in this area to create good architecture and automatically build from the bricks what we expect. And how? Probably with nanoservices, because this is modular conception and the modularity need artificial intelligence, because it's very difficult to have 1,000 of dependencies between nanoservices and build some concept and to don't know what is inside, because this is separated part of system. And what if inside is some security issue?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it must be tested in whole, yes.
Yes.
In whole application, and that's why I think we need artificial intelligence for support our nanoservices, because what I see in the future, nanoservice in function as a service concept, and it will be as a marketplace for services, and then we don't need to thinking about which different nanoservices connect. Just we need just know what we expect, and artificial intelligence should make all DevOps stuff. So
Yes.
we don't need software developer, we don't need DevOps, we need just know the business logic. This is what I see in 10 years.
Yes. You know, a couple of episodes ago, we had Dr. Tony talking about AI, and he mentioned something very interesting, something actually very frightening. And he told us that software came to replace many companies, but now the software developers are being replaced by AI. So it is quite interesting that you mentioned AI actually now dealing with the architecture of the
Yes,
software
yes,
development.
and this is the big difference between the story about Microsoft solution. They did some solution for build some code, and I was care about my position, but I understood that it's not the way. We don't need something what is creating some random code. We need something what can build from our bricks, something what is not random, what is good and can improve self to be better, and to thinking about personalization, about make adaptation, to make evolution to the better version of this application, for example. But what we know with decentralization, we can't even know where are the barriers in application, because it
Yes.
can be very big global network in IoT. So that's why I am thinking private 5G can help, because private 5G can be in one industry, in one place, in one city, and there can be everything. It can be just connected with internet to make some questions without it will be independent. So I think this is good to discuss in the future. What if private 5G can replace global internet, global network? Because if we have cryptocurrencies, we can we don't need even government.
Yes. Yeah, we will be definitely in the lookout of new developments in the AI 5G world, and also we'll see how these developments affect our nanoservices and our architecture in the future. Thank you very much, Tom, for the interview. This has been very useful, and I am pretty sure that it will be useful for all of our audience. Do you have any last words?
Thank you very much. It was a big pleasure for me to discuss, and I hope we can meet together after 10 years and discuss it.
And discuss again the development.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much once again. We really would like to collaborate with you in the future. We are Cyber Prophets, prophesizing the future of technology. Until the next episode.
Bye bye.